It's time for the J+T Show.
Oh my goodness, you are right on the money this morning.
Oh, we're doing it, man. We're doing it.
We are. We're still in touch. I can't believe it. Well, cheers. I'll raise my mug. I still got it. It's still warm. The J+T Show coming to you from the Hobbit Hole Studio in Bob Cajun and...
Cheers from Pefferlaw. Well, on the cozy couch with my Maple Leaf blankie.
How are the Maple Leafs doing? Dare I ask? I have not watched.
I haven't been paying that much attention, but apparently really good. But, you know, they're never going to get my excitement until they're hoisting the... I just don't trust them. They fail every year. I think there's a curse of trading Mahovlich or something. I don't know what the curse is.
Oh, my goodness.
But they don't seem to be able to, at the end, pull it all off. So, but apparently they're doing really, really well.
So maybe we should jump on the Maple Leafs bandwagon.
Maybe. But as I said, I'm sick and tired of the year starting out with hope, only to fail at the end, and usually a miserable fail, you just get this gut feeling you guys can't do it. And
isn't it amazing?
I like the idea of thinking they're watching it. This is possible, not, well, no, they've never done it. No.
Well, it seems like a good crew from what I see. I watch clips of the games occasionally, and they do seem to be scoring goals. I'm not sure about goaltending. Is that still a weak point for them?
We should have my brother Bobby on this particular show. But I don't know. Yeah, you're right. They seem to be scoring. I think they're one of the leading teams, if not the leading team in the league so far.
Wow.
So
in their
I don't
division,
think they started off very good. I think they lost the first few, but they seem to be the team to reckon with now. The thing that bothered me a lot about the Leafs was it seemed like they could not win overtime if their life depended on it. That's what it got down to. It just seemed like they couldn't do it. But then they won a big one against Calgary overtime. So maybe that breaks the jinx, when they're...
Maybe it does. Well, speaking of the Toronto Maple Leafs, there was a passing of an era not too long ago, in the last 2 weeks, I think it was. Borje Salming, number 21, defense for the Leafs.
Yeah,
Big
that was
Swede.
Sad to watch.
Yes, but it was in a day when Harald Ballard detested Europeans.
Yeah.
And here we had Borje Salming being one of the first of the vanguard to bring Europeans to both the Toronto Maple Leafs and the NHL.
Yeah, and he was better than I remember, apparently. So I thought I knew he was good, obviously. He was in the NHL, but apparently he was really good. So, and well loved. They did a whole couple of day celebration just weeks before his death.
Yes.
At Maple Leaf Gardens. It's not that anymore. Scotia Arena, in front of the Maple Leaf fans. And it was kind of sad to watch. Not sad, like, what a sad thing to do. Just sad that someone has to fall into illness like that.
Yeah.
What I would now consider still prime of your life, and you're going to be dead and leave your loving family behind. That's sad. But the Buddhists, as they say, skippity doodah, isn't that the Buddhist thing? Skippity doodah, live your life.
It's embrace impermanence, I think, is the closest thing, which is just, yes, embrace each moment of each day and celebrate all the way to the end, and not fear the end, because the end is just a passage.
Yeah.
Whereas from a Christian point of view, as my one sibling reminded me, has eternal consequences for your decisions making in this life, and God's going to get you in the end. So you should be living your life with fear and trepidation, and watch every word, watch every gesture, watch every step, or God will get you.
No, he might be right. What if he's right?
What if he's right?
There you go.
Well, that's where I lean on grace, and forgiveness and mercy and compassion, because all of those are also the God Almighty qualities, not just judgment. I always wondered why judgment became the be-all and end-all of Christian theology instead of emphasizing the others. the compassion, the mercy, the long suffering.
Yeah, I think part of it is, I know, there's certain, Jesus said, remain in my love. And we're not going to turn this into a great big sermon thing, but there is the wrath of God. Now, the way out of that wrath of God is, what I believe and what the Bible says about it, about you believe in God, believe also in his son who sacrificed his life for you. And, if those who believe in him are saved. Those who do not, the wrath of God remains. So what that wrath will look like you, let's depend on his mercy, his kindness, his love, and the rest of it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
for me, it's those kinds of qualities, because the omniscience of God is just one quality. The wisdom, they're all these omni powers of God, because God is infinite. So I can never understand the logic of this judgment being the preeminent quality, where it's contingent upon you. And I just never got that. So that's part of where I'm struggling.
Yeah, maybe that's why the Bible says, don't lean on your own understanding.
Well, if the Bible said don't lean on your own understanding, where would the Bible translators be? Where were those who studied the ancient languages, who archaeologically dug up the texts, who found the remains? That's a funny thing. And I think we take that verse when we need to, when we want to, and apply it in certain circumstances. But like I said about COVID and anti-vax information, you can cherry pick your stuff, and I don't like that.
Well, that's why you need to study it all, so that you don't cherry pick the stuff and take it out.
But here we are sitting in pews, not being educated and not studying it all. We claim we're reading the Bibles, but are we?
Well, yeah, I am, but that's...
Yeah, but I mean, here I spent years studying Greek and a little bit of Hebrew and a lot of Latin, and so if I'm leaning on my understanding, I'm leaning on a few years of language expertise, and that's not helping me get all this. And yet we're supposed to pray with understanding. Well, but wait a minute, you're not supposed to lean on your own understanding. So the oxymorons of this thing get me.
Well, no, to me that isn't an oxymoron. I'm not eloquent like you, but that's taking it again out of its context as well. I mean, I'm trying to think of an example, but that's like saying don't drive a car anxious, but the bridge is out and you're hurtling at it 100 kilometers an hour. You best get anxious. You know what I mean? So all of it has to be taken in context. That's what I believe. So I believe in the reverence of God. I believe he put it in there. There's a reason for it. He's developing children and teaching his children the way in which he wants you to be. And that's one of the reasons I guess I wouldn't be a progressive, because it seems to eliminate God from the process. We'll just make our own rules. Thank you very much. And I understand that. I'm not even knocking it, to tell you the truth. I'm just stating the way things seem to be. And then there are those who think, I better think twice about this move, or I better think twice about that move, because after all things were made by him, through him, and for him. If I was made for him, well, then there's a purpose here, and it was for his good purpose. So what is that? Anyways, I don't know if our listeners would want to hear religious doctrine.
Well, it is coming up to the Christmas season, and you kind of have a open license to say a little bit in the context of Christmas.
I do like Christmas. I do like it. I don't like some of the dilemmas. Like, I know I'm sort of committed to get together with this little group on the Christmas Eve, the Friday before Christmas. And yet now I find out my family's getting together the Friday before Christmas. Now I'm going to be staying at James's house, so I'll see them. But I've already committed to this Lonely Hearts group. So I'm conflicted. So I think what I'll do is I'll phone my sons and I'll see them over or visit before I go visit this one. It's good to be wanted. It's good to have family, but you make commitments to certain things. You're not thinking, you think we already got together last week, so this must be it. No, it ain't. Oh, okay. So I don't know.
Well, God bless him.
Well,
The
yeah,
lone.
like you've got it. They're all coming to you. That's fabulous. They're just coming to you, and that's it. And when you don't have a full-fledged family like you do, you know what I mean. You're anchored with a wife and a child and other children you've left, but you're anchored. Me, I'm kind of a free spirit. You know what I mean? It's me.
You're the
I come and
mobile
go.
one.
I'm a social butterfly. I'm out and about. With
I
church
don't
and
think you
with
would
my
have it
friends.
any other way, my friend. I think you enjoy that.
Well, I think it's part that will keep you alive, even though through this COVID, through this uh, vertigo, I thought I was on my way out, and it wasn't a pretty exit, Terry. If it had been it. But other than that, I think we need to be interested and move. I don't want to be just rotting in a basement somewhere. I like to get out. I got my wonderful neighbor next door that's always calling me to come over. I got my friends, and that now I depend on them a little bit until I get over this
And you've got
vertigo.
your church.
And of course, the church. I enjoy that and get along immensely with my pastor, who's just a joker like me. So we kibitz ourselves half to death. And there's other social things with that. Like Saturday, I get together with my friends for breakfast, and then Sunday after church, I get together with my friends for lunch.
You get together all the time. That's the thing. You're
Yeah,
a gadfly, social butterfly. Well, it keeps you young.
I guess, yeah, and it's interesting.
Okay, I don't know where we're going with
other
this, but
thing is-
maybe we should swing into a Christmas themed. What are we in? Okay, let's go with this. Your favorite Christmas tradition.
Oh, the favorite Christmas tradition.
Out of
one
all
them-
the things that you do, what would be a defining Christmas tradition for you?
Christmas Eve early in the evening, not like you used to go through like 12 midnight Christmas Eve, but Christmas Eve at the church, which I'm going to miss this year because I'm staying at James's house, my son James's house for Christmas, and he's invited me to their church, Leaksdale, the big Leaksdale church.
Oh, yeah.
South of us here, yeah.
Yep.
And that should be interesting, but I will miss my church,
Yes.
but still I'll be in church for an early Christmas Eve.
Right.
I don't know if I could do the midnight thing, Terry, if you want to know the truth.
It was a magical moment in the wee hours of the transition when the clock, the mouse ran up the clock and the little hand moves past 12, and it was magic.
Yeah, well, I still love the magic of Christmas. And I remember it as a child, the wonder of it. So I like the magic of Christmas. I like the celebrating of Christ. So usually in the Christmas Eve service at our church, the lights are low, the candles are on, and and there's maybe a song or two and a gentle message. It's usually gentle, nice, and then go home and have your
go home to your Lonely Hearts Club.
Yeah,
I found that interesting.
In this case, I won't be doing that. I'll be for many years I'd go over to on Christmas Eve. I would go over to my friend Debbie's in-laws because they'd just invite me to here in Pefferlaw, and I'd go over there and have some hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that, and just chatting. And I'm not a late goer, so I'm I won't stay up for New Year's unless I have my girlfriend Christina with me. If she comes up for New Year's, we'll have to stay up for midnight.
Oh,
I just look at.
She's a night owl, is she?
Well, Argentinians are
Is that right?
Like they party into the night, yeah.
Wow.
And I just get bored easy, I guess.
Okay, so your traditions would be some kind of a church service with the lights down low.
Yeah, that's about
gentle
it.
hymn.
Because it's up in the air since, for the last 22 years now. Like I've insisted that my kids have their own Christmas. I wanted them to have their own Christmas. So even upstairs, they'd usually come down, I don't know, mid-morning or something, and or make me a breakfast. This time
they would lure you upstairs with a breakfast plate.
Yeah, with a breakfast plate. Yeah.
Wafting the aroma of fresh whatever.
Yeah,
so you would get, okay, grandpa up, he'll smell this and he'll be up.
All still in our jammies. So this time I'll be over at James's and to witness their Christmas, and I'm glad to do so, and I'm glad I was invited.
Hmm.
It should be nice. I just, we're going to watch probably a crazy, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I love that idea,
Yes.
and as the kids get tired and the excitement fades and they need to go to bed, to get up to get open presents the next day.
Hmm.
So that's going to be good. So thank you, James, for inviting me.
Yes. Well, it's always good when the kids invite and include the grandparents, the parents, make us older generation part of their traditions.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I understand it better now than I did when my early part of my marriages, because I've always wanted the idea of a Christmas like my parents had, which
Mm.
was just our family. My dad would hand the presents out, kibitz a bit, and all that kind
Hmm.
of stuff. That's what I wanted to do for my family here, and instantaneously, Grandma and Grandpa Adair were a part of that, and it just didn't seem my ideal of a Christmas. I
Uh,
went with it and did it, but it just wasn't the same thing. So I never wanted to be that to my kids. I
ah,
want you to have your Christmas. Don't worry about Grandpa. I'm
mhm.
fine. We will see each other over the season. That kind of attitude.
Yeah.
It might have been wrong. It's just the way my mindset was. I didn't want to infringe on anybody's Christmas.
Well,
Enjoy it as a
Christmas
family.
is a day. It's a moment. And as I think I said in one of my solo podcasts, it's an arbitrary random day chosen by a random emperor from a random kingdom, a random empire at a random point in history. And that it still continues today is still mind boggling to me. However, I do enjoy traditions as well as you. So
Yeah, I
churches,
like it. I have no problem with, it's like the Queen of England. She wasn't born on
mhm.
the day we celebrate her birthday. And I find it more amazing that nobody really knows the exact date of Christ's birth. I find that amazing, with all the records and everything that's out there. So I find that amazing.
Maybe there
Uh,
are not as many records as you think.
oh, maybe. Yeah, it was a time of hiding, as you know, and a very, very stressful for giving birth to Christ. It wasn't as pleasant as we all think. It was a time of turmoil. It was a time of having to get to your hometown. She was pregnant, and you had to walk all the way there and register, and then no place to really stay. Somebody
Mm.
kind-heartedly gave them some place to stay. So it would have been tumultuous. The only thing that would be a record, which I'm assuming would be there for everybody, would if you found the Roman records of the census that they were doing. And I don't know if that's ever been found. It'd be great to see if they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, there are some loose ends in the story for sure. All right. In terms of traditions, favorite song?
Oh, Joy to the World, I think, because I like Joy to the World. It's a Christmas song we sing, which is really, I think, about the second coming of Christ, which I found interesting because you couldn't pinpoint the first coming of Christ and you can't pinpoint the second coming of Christ. I find that amazing.
That begs a whole bunch of questions in my mind. If you couldn't pinpoint it the first time, what's your odds of the second time?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, well, we're told we're not going to be able to do it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're told a
what
lot
about
of
you?
things that don't
What's
really
your
add up in
favorite
my
song?
mind. Favorite song I think I mentioned was Silent Night with the tapers lit in a
Yeah,
midnight
yeah,
service. So that was mine. I do like the high vaulted ceilings. I like the architecture of the old style churches, with
yeah.
the big ceilings that went up forever and the choir sounds, natural amphitheaters inside. But now I don't need those trappings. I like the stained glass of that kind of stuff, and
Trappings. Oh, shit. The
not
words
to
you
say that
said.
religion is a trap, but maybe there's some element Freudian slip. Oh my gosh, I'm ahead of myself. Yeah, I like Silent Night. That would be it. And in terms of, do you open gifts Christmas Eve or Christmas morning? What's your tradition?
My tradition's never on Christmas Eve. Never. I know yours was the open one, right?
Yeah.
Never. You wait till Christmas Day just for the excitement building of it and the anticipation. Yeah.
Well, as we got older into our late adolescence, early 20s, it began to change from you can only open one. That was for the kids. But if you went to the midnight service, which the kids did not go to, the kids went to bed.
Yeah.
And then if the adults adults came back from the Christmas service that evening, they got to open their presents, all of them, while
Oh,
we were
really?
listening from our bedrooms at all the shenanigans going on downstairs. So as we grew older, we got to open them all Christmas Eve.
Well, I don't know the traditions of my family now, like, my boys and their families and what they do. I have no idea if they open Christmas Eve or not. Don't matter to me, really. But that was just my tradition when the
Hmm.
boys were young and,
Hmm.
and we had Christmas. We would wait till Christmas Day. I don't believe there was ever an opening on Christmas Eve.
Well, that's testing the kids for sure. Tell me, do you ever go through this Santa Claus mythology guilt where
You
you
mean-
regret telling your kids, well, better look out, better watch out, better not
Oh no,
pout?
I embraced the whole Santa. I remember my kids sat me down and said, "Daddy, is Santa Claus real?" And
Dun,
I
dun,
sat to them
dun.
and I looked at them and I said, "You can believe me. Santa Claus is as real as your dad."
Oh, that's unacceptable, my friend. Unacceptable. You used to play on words to get away with promoting the myth.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember later, uh, one of them came to me and said, "You told us Santa Claus was real," and I said,
No?
"No, I told you Santa Claus was as real as your dad." And that son, whichever one it was, or maybe it was all of them, I don't know, said, "Yeah, you did. That's what you said." And I said, "Because I was Santa Claus. I bought all those gifts for you, you
Yep,
know."
yep.
And then, of
So,
course, it just eventually Santa Claus goes by the wayside.
so how is it for kids who are victims of this mythology? Because actually, we, the parents, are in control of that story and that narrative. How don't you get a twinge of guilt that you foisted a fast one?
Oh no, not at all. Not even for
No?
a minute. Not even for a second. I think it's just one of the joyous things that we should continue to allow children to have. Fantasy.
Well, don't you think it creates some conflict between competing mythologies or competing narratives? There's the Santa Claus secular version, then there's the baby in a manger narrative. Do they not clash at some point?
Well, I don't think they clash if you since Santa Claus is a myth, and you can mold it together. Like I usually read really quickly in the morning before we were going to open our presents. I would read a little bit of scriptures, and I'd bring it back to Christ, then why we give gifts, and talk about the Magi's, which weren't there at Christmas. I understand, but a 5-year-old don't need to know that. You know what I mean? You don't need to get into all the depths of the seriousness of the birth for a little kid. Kids can be kids. Let them be children. And so I don't know. I always worked it out. I reasoned it out. I enjoyed Santa as a kid. It wasn't unbelievably traumatic when I discovered no, he doesn't really exist. It was just
Hmm.
a funny thing for me.
Do you think we teach our kids that parents are unreliable for sources of truth?
Well, I don't know. I don't think my kids think that way of me. We have some pretty in-depth
Oh, come on.
conversations.
You're a legacy media advocate now. Surely you're in the bad books.
Uh, no, I don't think it affected my children, but I probably didn't give that opportunity out there. Like, I just don't know. It wasn't a conflict for me. I had
Mm.
as they got older, as the families got older, maybe I introduced more of the let's keep Christmas about Christ. Let's keep Christmas about Christ. Um, but they always knew in my household, they knew how their dad was. I mean, probably the best image I would want them to have of me is when I was upstairs sitting in my chair over by the big picture window reading my Bible. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the image I have of your father.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm the same way. That's where they would find me in the morning reading the Bible,
You
especially
have
on the
become
weekend.
your father.
I have become your father.
Luke, I am your father.
I am your father.
Oh boy, Darth Vader.
But maybe he was lying.
Maybe he was. Well, so you have no conflict. I'm part of wrestling with that guilt and wondering, did I foist a fast one on my kids by participating in the Santa Claus thing? And yet it's everywhere in culture. How do you avoid it? How do you avoid consumerism?
Well, yeah, I viewed Santa when my kids were young. I didn't think of it so much as consumerism as just fantasy, the wonder of the white, the trees, the colors, just the wonder of
Was
it
that
all.
a Florida Christmas that you're talking about?
No, no. The tree in your living room, Do you have a Christmas tree?
Yes.
Yeah, so do I. There it sits. Wonderful.
Yes, and because it's a fake one, we can put it up at the 1st of December and have it the whole
Me
month.
too. Me too. I'd never go back to an original one.
Let's bring this episode to a close with this idea. Have you ever had a Christmas gift that you opened and the moment you went to use it, it broke?
No.
Never.
Have you?
Yes.
Not that I can remember.
Christmas presents and all the anticipation, and you're gonna get this thing, and you got this thing, and you unwrapped it, and it's joy, and you take it outside because it's an outdoor thing. And the moment you go to use it, whether it's a hockey stick that snaps, it's a goalie net that collapses, or it's missing a bolt or something to hold it together. Or in my case, the most traumatic one was this great imaginary bobsled that we got. My father got it. It was a 2-seater, and we're kids, so of course, we're dying to get on this thing. We get on it and go down the first hill, and the runners, which were just little aluminum runners, when I think about it, it's ridiculous. 2 people hit the first bump, and the runners went flat. It broke. So yeah, I've had disappointment at Christmas. Maybe that's where I get my skepticism from. What kind of Santa's workshop is this?
No, my biggest disappointment was, and my my wife at the time must have got a kick out of it, but I would be thinking it's time to go to bed now, and then she'd pull out all the toys that needed to be assembled.
Oh my goodness.
Hell ruined it. I mean, I can't stand that. Here, yeah, it's a Darth Vader, whatever, with 4,000 parts to it. Put it together before, and this is just one more.
Now, my friend, of course, it comes back to you because didn't you participate in the Christmas shopping list? Did you not know what was ahead?
I did not.
Oh, knowledge is power. Okay, so no disappointments for you. One for me that's still in my mind, the day the bobsled went flat.
That's a song.
Other Christmas stories. Yeah. Tales from the Crypt.
Terry's Christmas album. Don't buy it.
Don't buy into it. Do something like that. All right, my friend. Do take care. We'll call you again for another podcast. All right, take care. From the Hobbit Old Studio, I'm Terry.
I'm Jim.